say, oh, obviously that's a place to go. Now, two things
Yeah.
happen. No, three things are really big. Now, Insulet has said this, and they made this as a public company. They made the statements that they were investigating and doing work, and there were agreements with Eli Lilly for using a higher concentration insulin for type 2s.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
That's been doctors were prescribing the Omnipod off-label to type 2s since the first day we shipped Omnipod. Okay? Now, the first thing you have to understand is, number one is type 2s generally use a lot more insulin than type 1 because they're insulin resistant.
Yep.
And they don't need all the features and programmability of a conventional insulin pump that a type 1 would wear. Right? The management and the insulin requirements are very simple compared to a type 1.
Okay.
So generally, number one is you don't need the complexity of a conventional insulin pump, like an Omnipod or a Medtronic pump. You don't.
Yeah.
And the other point is the insurance companies are not going to pay for it.
Okay.
So what happens is mostly, and I'll give you some examples, what the thought is on wearing pumps for type 2s are really not programmable pumps. They're generally fixed flow rate with a manual bolus capability.
Yep.
So basically you buy one that gives you a constant rate of 5 units an hour, and you put it on and it lasts a day or two. It holds a lot more insulin, or it holds higher concentration insulin, but it just gives you a flow rate of insulin.
Yep.
Constant. And if you happen to know that your blood sugar is really high, you might push a manual button and then inject some more insulin.
Okay.
Okay, and you can do that. But it's simple compared to, just really simple. So
yeah,
there's people that are looking at doing this and going after the type 2 market. And my response is, number one is you have a company who has a pretty, a reasonable technology in Valeritas here in the United States and Massachusetts. They have a fixed flow rate pump with a manual button override, no electronics. And just go look at, they can't do anything. Because you also have another thing that a lot of type 2s, it's hard enough to get type 2s to inject insulin with a pen, let alone want to wear a pump. Because there's also an aspect of a type 2 that when you go to insulin, it's now the last step.
Yeah.
Meaning you failed everything else. So type 2s generally don't want to wear things.
Yeah.
And the insurance companies don't want to pay for things. So now, Johnson & Johnson acquired the Calibra patch pump technology, probably 10 years ago at least.
Yep.
They just sold it off. They sold all the assets and divested all the investment. And and that was a fixed flow rate pump. So they've stopped. You have another technology company here in the United States called C-Cure. Now they have some technology problems, but they're doing the same kind of thing. And they've raised some good money. They have some reasonable technology, but they're having trouble. Insulet has had people have used the device for type 2 for 10 years.
Yeah.
But there's no real business. So why isn't there a real business? The pumps have been around for a long time. Valeritas has been around for a long time. Where's the business?
Yep.
So I'll be honest with you, if somebody's asking me to invest in a company that's developing a type 2 pump, I will not at all. Now,
okay, got it.
So, but the technology can potentially be used for drugs other than insulin.